And we're live here in the FWL studios. We got 4 people here tonight. We have, of course, Playboy Stevie V as always. We have Chronic Masturbator Zach. Woo! And we have Lovers of Dick Grady over here.
Hey!
So
today it's called the Menage a Trois of Fatal Four Ways.
So this is the first time that LOD Grady's been on here. So why don't you say a little something?
What's going on? I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to get the topics going and the debate going.
Okay, well, LOD Grady. CM Zach?
Howdy.
These people here.
Yeah. Let's start on a topic. We gotta get a topic going.
What the fuck do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm sure we want to talk about what everybody in wrestling is talking about right now. Everybody really wants to know what's going on with Darren Young and Bob Backlund.
Oh,
okay, hold on, stop, everyone. I have to cut Playboy CVV off. How dare you?
Yes.
Everybody's talking about the potential breakup of Blake and Murphy.
Oh my God, I hate
Oh shit!
Yeah. What is wrong with you?
I'm just gonna take off my headset right now and leave the studio.
Yeah, jeez.
But solid second is Darren Young and Bob Backlund.
Yeah, let's just start off and have a discussion about this.
Okay.
What the fuck?
I don't know. You might as well cancel WrestleMania here in about 3 years if you don't have Blake and Murphy to carry that son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, well that's obvious. But what are they thinking? Darren Young having these weird vignettes with Bob Backlund?
Dude, they make me uncomfortable.
It's exactly like Bob Backlund's old running for president fucking gimmick, wasn't it? Like he would just come in with a quick promo about Backlund running for president, and and how he's going to help the world with his motivation, and he's doing the same thing with Darren Young now.
Well, the whole promos it makes me uncomfortable. The reason why it's like I'm watching some kind of weird viral video that's going to end up something really bad's going to happen because you have I mean. When when the camera goes on to Backlund looks like a porcelain doll, and he looks like a Weekend at Bernie's kind of character. Like
it does. Yeah. It does. It seems like somebody's behind him, moving his limbs.
And then he's talking, and Darren Young, and I'm like, is this like Darren Young? Is it leading to eventually Darren Young's going to cross over the screen and rape Bob Backlund?
That's kind of my worry. It's going to end up in some weird gay porn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that makes me wonder. Does does Bob Backlund know that Darren Young's gay right now?
Oh God,
I don't know.
That might be the most un-American thing Bob Backlund's ever heard.
So we just had Extreme Rules happen, and this is the podcast afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about what happened at Extreme Rules. So Baron Corbin defeating Dolph Ziggler in a no DQ match.
That was predictable.
That was if he didn't win, it was time to go to NXT.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? Since we're on Dolph Ziggler, and I've already told everybody what I feel about the dude. I know right before we went on the air, LOD, Josh over here, said that started talking about Ziggler and had some pretty strong opinions on the dude.
Oh shit! Nice, Joey.
Somebody ordered some pizza with extra fun.
Stripper just got here.
Right?
Early.
You knew he wasn't coming in quiet. There was no way he was coming in quiet. What I'm saying with Dolph Ziggler is I genuinely think I've heard nothing but hate about Dolph Ziggler from this podcast. And I genuinely think Dolph Ziggler is one of the top talents that WWE has. For matches and against other opponents, I think he puts on great work.
Okay, for this podcast, yeah.
Against other opponents, what else would we have in a match with? A paper bag?
Oh no, I'm just saying he always makes the other guy look good.
Okay, I'll agree with that. I would, but
he will benefit greatly from the brand split.
Yeah, my complaint about Dolph Ziggler, and the reason why I don't like Dolph Ziggler, and every time he comes out, I just kind of like roll my eyes, is because, and some of this is not Ziggler's fault, but first of all, any storyline he is in is always complete fucking garbage. Yes. It's the worst storyline ever, and I don't know. I just find the guy, he's boring to me. He's fucking boring.
So you bring up Dolph Ziggler and how the podcast here is always against him. Now I want to know. You say he makes people look good. Okay. When's the last time you've legitimately been 100% invested in Dolph Ziggler and his story and what's going on? And tell me that story too.
Okay, no,
No. I want to hear that story.
You have me right there, but I would attach to that what he just said. There's never a good story with him. I'm saying the guy puts on decent matches.
Okay, tell me.
And he gets thrown into shit. Like, he is so underutilized. And not put into
Is
the
it
right
really?
storylines.
Is it really because he's underutilized? Is that it?
I would say the matches he had against Tyler Breeze were good. I like Tyler Breeze. I like the matches they had. I enjoy seeing him against Miz.
How long has he been in the WWE?
Oh God, over a decade.
Yeah,
Spirit Squad.
I mean, Kofi Kingston has already, found his niche, and he's been in the WWE for a long time. And it's, I don't know. Last time I was ever into Ziggler, where I was behind him, is when he was a heel and he was with Vicky Guerrero for a little bit, and he was going to go on a world title run. But every time I see a Ziggler match, I just expect him to lose.
But to get the shaft and just be thrown in bad storylines, and that's just what you're saying about him, and he's been there for that long, that's a cop-out. If you're not interested in the guy for that long.
As a character, I haven't been interested in him. I would actually agree with the whole AJ Lee, Vicky Guerrero. It's been that long, but the story I think the storylines they have for him are just always been shit.
Yeah,
he's never gotten a decent one.
Now here's a question I don't think no one here would be able to answer, but with Ziggler though. Now, do you think they just pitch him the crappiest storylines and he's like, okay, that's good? Does he have any creative control on what's going on?
No, he's an absolute yes man.
Because, I mean,
yes man,
you can see some of these guys, I'll just throw out like Kevin Owens or someone like that. I'm sure if they came with a really crappy storyline to him, he would have some kind of say-so in which, that's not going to work. This guy, I don't know. It's just, he's gotten to the point with me where he's boring, man, to me. I mean, he just is.
Anything, Sam, Zach?
Well, I mean, I like Ziggler, but other than just going out there and being the guy who has a good match, that seems to be his only role since 2013.
And that's the IWC's. Oh, they have to just have a good match. We don't care about anything else, and I don't accept that. I don't accept the internet smarks, and I don't accept that. And I don't accept us still talking about Dolph Ziggler for 5 minutes straight. So we're moving on. Let's talk about the Tornado Tag Team match here between the Club and the Usos.
That was a good match. I enjoyed it.
I was glad that Gallows and Anderson finally went over, too.
Yeah.
I got nothing bad to say about that match.
The Usos, man, they've been jobbing lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're still getting the crowd love.
Yeah, they're the Usos, so yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question, real quick. Going right back again to Baron Corbin and Ziggler.
Oh my God, we're
hold
talking
on.
about Ziggler again.
Hold on. He brought up a match between Ziggler and Breeze and stuff like that, but if we didn't write down that Baron Corbin and Ziggler had a match, would any of us even remember that happened on this pay-per-view?
Probably not.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now that actually brings up a good topic with Baron Corbin. I can't stand the fucking guy. I don't think he's got the look. I don't think he's got the talent in the ring. I don't understand why he's getting any kind of push.
I have no problem with Baron Corbin.
Yeah,
I
I
like
wouldn't
Baron
necessarily say two curtain-jerking pre-show matches with Dolph Ziggler to be a push, necessarily.
Was that the...
Especially where he's split the series with good old
forgive
Dolph.
me, I didn't realize that was a curtain jerk. That's right.
It was the first of two pre-show matches, I believe, last
Yeah.
time.
We're going to talk about Big Cass that came out in front of the Dudley Boys and had the Dudley Boys
we'll
do
just-
job as normal.
We'll just move on when we get to it later. We have a lot to talk about, and we spent so much time on Dolph Ziggler. It makes me fucking sick. So let's keep going here and talk about the Club and the Usos. Is there anything else to say about that
No,
besides?
I have no complaints.
Let's talk about it. Come on.
Talk about what?
I have a complaint. The Club. Are they the Club? Are they Bulletproof? What the fuck are they?
Well, WWE's calling them the Club, so I would say they're the
There's
Club.
no merch. There's no, you know what I'm saying?
They're the Club,
There's
Josh.
nothing.
We'll continue this conversation when we start to talk about what happened after the pay-per-view.
Touche.
Okay, but let's talk about it. Playboy CV. Who Gallows?
Oh yeah, he needs to give back Kevin Nash's outfit that he used to wear when he was Diesel. He does. Every time he wears it, he's been walking more gingerly. Those pants are sucking the soul out of his legs and giving them to Kevin Nash.
And now that you know, watch for it. You'll see.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think the only real bad thing about Gallows and Anderson is they are exactly one Festus chant away from a career in TNA.
Ooh, yeah, that's a true story.
Hasn't happened yet, so I'll give him that. And I thought as soon as he showed up that they were going to start chanting Festus, and I was just sitting there going, okay, what we're going to see right now. But they haven't yet.
Yeah,
So
it's been good. All right, so here's something I want to say. I really like the Vaudevillains. So with that being said, the Vaudevillains right now, they have no place on the main roster.
No,
They're dead.
not at all.
You know, I think it's. I talked about it last time. You know, there's gimmicks that get over in the indie leagues, and sometimes just because the crowd's so hot that they would literally be all four people chugging dick on the show. And that's the Vaudevillains to me. You know, they got over in a place where you almost have to try not to, and it just doesn't work in front of the bigger audience.
They didn't explain. They didn't explain anything with the Vaudevillains.
well, you know, like the Vaudevillains, I think they do have a place on the main roster, but I'm not saying as it is right now.
Just not as wrestlers. You know, someone's got to
when
get
the
sandwiched.
brand split goes, if the brand split goes and they have two different tag team champions, they'll get some more. You know, I think they'll.
They could be the Dolph Ziggler of the SmackDown Tag Team division.
Yeah, because you know what? Maybe, hopefully, maybe it's just wishful thinking that SmackDown crowd will be a little bit more forgiving than Raw crowds.
Well, I think sadly that the Vaudevillains just aren't getting any love from the main roster crowd. It's not going to happen whether it's a brand split or not.
That's my.
Yeah, they're just not going to get the love.
Well,
Exactly.
let's just hope that they can get over, because I know Aiden, or something, because I've always really liked Aiden English before the Vaudevillains even happened. But
They're just going to get
Well,
repackaged.
you know, there's not much to say about the New Day beating the Vaudevillains at the pay-per-view.
I think that was a given.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. You might have to listen to the other podcast, but I actually thought the Vaudevillains were going to win. You know, so
Yeah.
but
Well, let's talk about this one because honestly, I didn't think that this was going to happen. Rusev, new United States champion against Kalisto.
The match between those two size guys, and Rusev hasn't had a good match in a while, that was a good match. Rusev looked good. He made Kalisto look good. Kalisto made Rusev look good. That was a solid match.
There's absolutely no more need for Rusev.
yeah, I didn't even really care for this match at all or anything. It was Rusev wins. He got his United States title back, but it's almost like too late. Who cares after what happened with Cena and everything? It's almost like written in stone that
The League of Jobbers was the end of it for him.
Yeah, you know what? And what I was going to say more about Rusev, we can cover it when we start covering Raw afterwards and stuff like that. Had something to say about him, but I'll be jumping the gun if I talk about Titus O'Neil already.
Well, actually, I wanted to bring that up. I mean, when you talk about it, you have to talk about Titus O'Neil at this point.
Go ahead, talk about it.
I'm kind of flabbergasted. I don't know what they're doing. You know, I don't have an issue with Titus O'Neil. I don't. But they just never pushed him, and all of a sudden they're going to push him. Are they just pushing him because they suspended him for WrestleMania? They're actually really going to try to make a push? Because the only way this match, Rusev and Titus O'Neil, would be interesting at all is if somehow Titus O'Neil could win. I mean, but
Or somehow become a good wrestler.
I'm about to
That's
get.
the key I go with.
I'm about to get some heat right now from everyone.
God.
I think that the only reason that they're thinking about pushing Titus O'Neil is because they've been watching Ring of Honor and they see Moose.
Yeah, but Moose doesn't suck.
Yeah, that's true, but he looks like,
it's like Ring of Honor knew how to package, would have known how to package Titus O'Neil better, because Titus O'Neil's an ex-football player and stuff too.
yeah. Anyways, I'm sick of talking about Rusev, so let's skip this. Fatal 4-Way with The Miz winning. What kind of trash is that?
You know,
and let's.
Well,
Okay,
I
go-
say the Miz winning was definitely not the desired outcome, but holy fuck, that was an awesome match.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Let's hear LOD Grady put The Miz over and make everyone sick.
I just want to say, A, that was a great match, and B, I think it was genius to keep The Miz as the champion because he is one of the best heels WWE has over the past fucking decade. And for these wrestlers with Owens being a great heel with Cesaro.
Did you just say best heel in the last decade? That is.
Yes.
Get
I
out
absolutely
of the
did.
room
Absolutely
now.
did. Absolutely did. That man gets nothing but heat every time he comes out to the ring.
You know who else gets nothing but heat every time he comes out to the ring? Roman Reigns. Does that mean he's the best heel of the last decade? No, you're wrong. Shut up.
Roman Reigns gets the same heat as John Cena. They love him, they hate him. There's boos, there's cheers, full shebang. The Miz, the moment he walks out, you want him to fucking die.
Because he's terrible, and you don't want him to be in the ring.
I think he's a great performer in the ring. Absolutely great performer in the ring.
To me, I'm sorry.
And to progress this storyline, I think it was a genius idea.
Well,
to keep
just really quick with the Miz, Rusev, Dolph Ziggler are all in that one category to me where they're just boring as shit to me. I don't care. And with Miz, I've always thought with Miz he gets so many gimmick changes because they always trying to get him to refresh his character and have to change it because his character never really gets.
As far as I'm concerned, the Intercontinental title needs to spend the rest of the year being contested between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Yes,
those two just need to fight forever, back and forth, again and again, every different match they can think of, and The Miz needs to be nowhere near the title picture.
Well, if you want to hear what we think about The Miz, just go back and listen to some more podcasts because we've tore him apart over and over and over again.
I told you that I thought not on the podcast so that I think The Miz would be an excellent manager. You know, he could talk on the mic and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't feel him anymore as in-ring talent.
Women's Championship match. We're done talking about The Miz. LOD Grady. That's it. We're done. Women's Championship match where we have Charlotte versus Natalya, and Charlotte beats Natalya. There's not much to say here.
I thought that match was kind of below the caliber of most of Charlotte's, and I think it was completely Natalya's fault.
There's stuff to say about Charlotte in a little bit here, but this is...
I didn't care about this match at all because Natalya was in it.
Yeah. And she sucks. That's all there is to it.
Okay, I'm going to say something right now. I am literally ashamed of the internet wrestling community, and I am completely embarrassed as being part of posting on internet wrestling forums. What is wrong with you people? You're sitting here saying that this Asylum match with Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose was a shitty match?
That's the worst match of the card.
What is wrong with you? That match was great, and it ended with Y2J getting slammed on tacks?
And you know what? And I've also told people that when they said that was the worst match, I go, well, this ring pay-per-view must have been like really fucking good then, because I thought that match was really good.
Well, the big argument I hear from the independent wrestling community is there's too many gaps. There's too many gaps in between move to move. It was too slow. And I call bullshit because you look back at some of the hardcore matches back in the day that were slow and there were big gaps. They closed all those gaps in. They were going the whole time. They had an amazing match.
You know what? This is the one thing I hate about the indie wrestling fans. I hate because I hear that too. That it's too slow and this and that. You know, back in the old days with me was matches weren't always that fast because it was something called ring psychology, where you try to hook up with the crowd and you're a little bit methodical sometimes, and then there was your spots for fast moves. But if you're just full out 100 miles an hour all the time, then every wrestler you're going to see from now on is going to be as big as Kalisto.
Well, you know what though, I want to touch on the fact that the big reason I think that is because of how much overly rehearsed matches you see now. Like right now that Ricochet Osprey got so much love with the independent community. You can't tell me they didn't know exactly what was going on before that match.
That was step for step choreographed.
Exactly.
But I mean, it was awesome, and that's fine. But the same people who think, oh, this match is too slow, are the same people who will go back and watch, Hardcore Heaven from, what was it, 97, something like that.
Right.
RVD and Jerry Lynn. That match was 30-something odd minutes, and the first 15 of it was
laying on the ground.
Just arm lock city.
So you have this. By the way, I'm the commish. I forgot to introduce myself. By the way, you have this Asylum match, okay? And you have these internet wrestling fans who want the match to go fast and crazy. But the Asylum match has these weapons hanging above the cage. So they just want them to ignore the gimmick match and just not go for the weapons?
No, they want them to run up it and then hurricanrana a weapon through their
Yeah,
legs. And
okay,
come down,
sure.
Now, the one thing I will touch on with this match, as a gimmick match, was that a good gimmick match? Because I think that was a bit of a piss poor gimmick.
Great
match.
It was.
The gimmick was piss poor.
They could, from now on, I think Dean Ambrose, everyone keeps talking about how Ambrose gets the short end of the stick with Rollins and Reigns with his placement and everything, but I thought it was a big fucking deal that Ambrose actually got his own match named after him. That doesn't happen all the
absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Hell in a Cell, that's Undertaker's match. Ambrose is going to have the Asylum match. Yeah, maybe they can update it a little more and do something a little bit different.
They could have just done a Hell in a Cell
But
match.
they need to keep Dean Ambrose having Asylum matches as this like end all of
Well,
you don't want an Asylum match with
well,
Ambrose kind of
H-
thing. That's his place.
HBK Mashuri over there said that the weapons should have been on top of the cage,
Well, he said on the
on the walls of the cage. So
Thunderdome
could be
style.
okay.
I can see that, but I mean, if you're gonna have a gimmick match, regardless of if it's good or bad, because they're booked in the match, you have to use the gimmick. You can't just ignore it. And if you were to ignore it and have a great match, the match wouldn't be as good because you're in this odd gimmick match that you're not even using for any reason.
Now, I want to touch up on the fact of it is a big deal to have a gimmick match after your character, but there has been some big fails with character gimmick matches. I mean, Great Khali,
Yeah, you go
Ken
Khali.
Shamrock.
that's
There's
terrible.
been some awful gimmick matches that should have never been placed.
The Lions Den match. Yeah, that was freaking terrible.
Oh, that was pretty terrible.
What
Okay,
was the Great Khali? It was the
Pujami
prison.
prison match was
Yes.
made out of bamboo.
awful.
WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Roman Reigns defeats AJ Styles. I thought it was a great match. I thought it was an A+ match, but
Internet community hated it just because Roman Reigns
it was
is in the
terrible because it was predictable, and the only way it would have been good is if Roman Reigns lost.
I think the only real predictable part was the end spot. I mean, you could see that spear coming the second he started setting up for the phenomenal forearm. But I mean, that was fine. The whole match was awesome up to that point.
2 times during the match, I legitimately thought that AJ won.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, because what frustrates me is everyone gives this match a lot of hate. Like, oh, this match was really good. They're like, oh, this match sucked. And when, and some of the people point out, it was a terrible match because it was predictable. But then as soon as I asked them, so are you saying it would have been a good match if AJ Styles won? And then it's like, yeah, so then it was a good match, then, right? I mean,
Okay. LOD Grady, let's hear it.
I think this match was fucking awful. And the main reason I think it was awful had nothing to do with the fact that Roman Reigns won. It's the fact that AJ Styles was the only one that had anything done to him. Roman Reigns didn't do anything. There was nothing big coming from Roman Reigns. It was just, let me see how much I can beat the shit out of this little dude.
I like that.
And that's not for a great match.
Crucifix
And that doesn't make for a
powerbomb.
great wrestler either.
Got that crucifix powerbomb that was new.
Yeah.
That would look pretty brutal. And he had that one flying knee strike that actually looked kind of like he ripped off
Yeah.
Senshi or what.
No, but what I'm saying is he's not having anything done to him.
Well, he's the
not
bigger
taking
guy.
any
He's the
moves.
bigger guy. He's the powerhouse.
I get that,
And he
but
took quite a bit of moves. He
And-
took the Styles Clash, and he got forearmed, and
Listen,
he
he
took
took the signature and the finisher, and that was it.
Listen.
He didn't do anything off outside of the box like AJ did.
listen, no matter what happens, Roman Reigns can do a 450 shooting star press off of the arena top. Josh is going to say it sucked. The internet wrestling
true.
community is going to say
No,
it
no.
sucked. And that's just it.
Well,
Keep
you
in
know what?
mind, I say that fucking match that Roman Reigns had with the Big Show was actually a well done match, and Roman Reigns did really good in that match. Don't get me wrong, you can't have a good match with the Big Show, but Roman Reigns somehow made that shit happen.
Okay, so with
Roman Reigns could come to California.
Everybody's fuming on that right now. I love it.
Roman Reigns could come to California and save Josh from having a building collapse on him, and Josh would
It's
say he
not
didn't
about
quite
that.
like his rescue style.
This Roman Reigns conversation has deteriorated into talking about the Big Show. So let's talk about the.
Wait, I was going to finish
Oh,
with.
okay,
It was
go.
just AJ Styles. It's like I mean, if everyone's expecting Reigns to be as good as AJ Styles when he wrestles him, I don't think anybody hardly in the WWE is as good as AJ Styles.
Oh
in
yeah,
the
that's
ring.
true. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what are you going to do? I mean, it would be like when Guerrero wrestled Brock Lesnar. Dude, Guerrero is freaking way better in the ring than Lesnar.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't see a bunch of people hopping on Lesnar because. Last time Lesnar tried to do anything good, he landed right on his head. Remember that shooting star, right?
All
right.
Kurt Angle.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about what happened at the end with the return of Seth Rollins.
I'm glad to see him back, but I wish he didn't come back because Joe has him on his team. That's
Yeah,
the only
and we
thing.
can all agree that Joe's a jobber, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, What do you think's going to happen with Seth Rollins?
I think that he's going to be chasing the title all year, and if he does win the title, it'll probably be at next WrestleMania. But I don't think they're going to put the title on him right away.
I think this year is going to be a big Survivor Series, and we're going to see, especially with like the talk of the rumors of like brand splits and all that shit, and you're going to see Seth Rollins get his championship at a big Survivor Series or Royal Rumble show.
You think that Seth Rollins is going to get it that soon? I kind of
Maybe with the brand split.
but
I think it's going to be a big deal that everybody's going to be involved with. and Seth Rollins
let's
gonna lead
talk
lead
about the brand split right now. From what I'm hearing, the champion's going to be on both shows.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
I like that.
Yeah,
Actually, I like that too. But
I've heard that. I've heard that from multiple places. Plus, one of the
And
places
then
I've
have
heard.
their top titles on each show be the U.S. belt and the Intercontinental belt, but the world.
Yeah, he goes back and forth. But one of the places I heard it from was "Talk is Jericho," so take it, because he's Jericho and he's
God damn it,
a lying
Jericho.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't know when you're freaking telling the
Yeah.
truth or not.
So that could happen, but I don't think it wouldn't be best for business to put the title on him right away.
Well, Survivor Series. I mean, we're looking after summer with Survivor Series. I mean, that's a good August, September.
Okay, so let's say they put the title on him. Now, what are they doing for WrestleMania? What's the story? Because they got to build. They got to build all the way.
I would love.
Seth
to see
Rollins versus the Club. Him and AJ headline
Well,
WrestleMania.
exactly. I was going to say I would love to see AJ win the Royal Rumble.
That just seems
Seth
a little
Rollins,
far-fetched.
AJ Styles in the WrestleMania. I think that'd be a huge.
I think if you wanted a match that was going to burn it down at the main event of WrestleMania, you couldn't do any better than Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles.
Well, let me ask all
However
three
you get
of
it there with the
questions.
story.
I'm only going to ask you a question right now. I'm not going to argue, but I just want to ask one single question. Who is the most hated man in professional wrestling right now?
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns?
Roman Reigns.
So, if he held that title all the way up to WrestleMania, how much more would he be hated?
Here's the thing, though. He's not hated by everybody. He's hated the same way. If you would have asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said John Cena. People want to burn John Cena to the ground, but he's still one of the most beloved wrestlers as well. And that's where Roman Reigns is. Roman Reigns is that weird purgatory of die, fucker, die. And we want this guy to just run this fed for the next 10 years.
But I also think it's like that though because they were at PG for a long time with Cena and stuff. But it looks like to me like they're starting to get a little lax on that. If they start doing what they did kind of in the Attitude Era, get it rated up a little bit, I could see them turning Reigns, and that's what I think they should do. I think they should turn him heel.
I don't think
I think there needs to be a solid.
I don't think they should do anything with Reigns because he's such a good heel that why put the extra effort in when he's getting that much crowd reaction? You say that he's still being beloved, but when you see him come out on Raw, all you hear is overwhelming boos to the point where you almost can't hear his music anymore.
But I would say the same thing about John Cena.
Yeah, I
2
think
years ago.
the straight heel, straight face era is kind of dwindling. There's a lot of guys that are those in-betweeners. Yeah, they might be heels, but Seth Rollins is going to have that effect. He might come out and play the heel. He's still going to get as much pop as anyone who fucking comes out. Yeah, well, exactly. Kevin
And
Owens is obviously a bad guy, but no one boos him hardly.
Yeah, and that's why I have a hard time with it because I'm just I'm so used to the traditional heel character and face character. You're just defined as a heel or a face. That this new shit like what's going on with Cena and what's going on with Reigns and stuff like that. I know Stone Cold is something really unique. So but it's like I said,
But you
people
see it in other
say
fans
that
too.
because I mean like the commissioner will say that Reigns is like the best heel right now or something like that, and to me I'm like but to me he's not supposed to be. He's not portraying, but that is what it is now, and it just
See, what I
blows
say
my
it is
mind.
and isn't though.
I think it's just more about favorite wrestler anymore than heel or face.
He said, LOD Grady said the right thing. What'd you just say?
I mean, he's beloved by the kids. He's hated by the wrestling fans. It's that easy. People are still going to buy his merchandise,
He said
his toys.
He said he is, but he isn't. So
Yeah, he's the most hated, but he isn't the most hated.
It just
crazy.
it causes confusion, and when you cause confusion in professional wrestling, that's great because when everybody's an expert on everything, but when you don't know everything, that number one makes the expert furious because they need to know everything, and number two, it'll just make them hate that person because of it.
If that's where they're going with it right now, I agree with it then, and I think that's a smart idea. But I genuinely don't think the creative team is that intelligent on the fans to come up with it.
I don't think that they have to come up with it because it came up with itself.
It sells merch and people get a reaction.
I do just want to bring up, since we were talking about the brand split idea, the brand split I'm kind of against right now. I'm not digging the brand split because I think right now they need to do exactly what Sheamus is doing with Apollo Crews with this Attitude Era, New Era thing, and needs to become this older guys versus the younger guys.
It's not Attitude Era versus the New Era. Everyone awesome from the Attitude Era is old as shit and retired. It's the PG era of a bunch of people who couldn't wrestle and suck the ass versus...
The brand split has to happen. There's too much talent in WWE. People who are amazing are getting buried because...
there's not enough room.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The brand split needed to happen a long time ago because there's a lot of people with a lot of talent that they let go to other federations and stuff that the brand split would have got them. Yeah.
Look how many people are good on the main roster right now, and look how many superstars that they already have in NXT right now that need to be brought up, but they have no room for them.
I still think NXT needs to be run as a separate brand, not as a feeder league.
I've been reading on the net though, and I've been reading it. This is not one of my own sources or anything, but take it what it's worth. That because of the brand split, they're thinking about actually doing away with NXT, which I think is horrible. Because if that was the case, NXT they have indie fans, the indie wrestling fans, kind of what they wanted. But it was WWE doing it. But then after that, I also read like a couple days later that they weren't going to get rid of NXT. That what they were going to do is have Stephanie and Shane run SmackDown or Raw, whoever on each side, and they were going to do some kind of angle with Triple H bringing up a bunch of NXT guys and having an NXT Revolution.
That would be cool.
I think they could run all three brands separately, and then have them come together and have different titles contested at big pay-per-views.
Yep, and they all come together. Everybody on like the big pay-per-views like SummerSlam, Survivor Series.
Yeah. NXT could still run its own shows. Every once in a while, you could have a guy from Raw or SmackDown come do matches in NXT and vice versa.
I want that feeling though, because
feuds between the brands.
If they do the brand split, I want the feeling like it was when Nitro was going on, where you generally were shocked and surprised when you saw a person from the other brand show up at the other show.
See, you'll never be able to get that feeling again.
Well, something like that. They really need to keep them separated.
I agree with that.
If that's how they're going to do it, yeah.
Because that's how you build mega matches. Because you'll have one star on one show and one star on another.
They can do it like that. They can do it like that.
They can make it seem like I'm Russell forever.
What they can do and keep it like that is use the heavyweight championship to transition superstar wrestlers from one show to the other.
Well, I do like that idea. That is a good one. But in some way, though, with the transition, are you saying another show is better than the other? Like, is being the NXT champ?
They're both on the same network, USA, and they're both live. One's on Monday, one's on Tuesday. So, yeah, I think that they would be competing with each other. So,
well, and you still have the third brand out there. If NXT's ran more of its own thing, I mean, I could see Nakamura being the champion in NXT and Seth Rollins being the champion, and those two feuding on Twitter, feuding on feuding and promos and building up to a super match. Yeah. Okay, just the two champions just to do it.
Everyone, Ryback might be heading to NXT.
That's exactly where Ryback belongs.
He'd probably do way better in NXT.
That he is.
It's actually, I think it's TNA. He's going there.
TNA.
Not NXT.
Oh yeah.
I can see the NXT crowd being pretty hot with their feeding me more chants.
Who cares? Ryback, he's a victim of Cena.
Oh yeah.
Well, Playboy
like Ziggler and Rusev and everyone is, but nobody.
Playboy CVV stole my thunder because I was going to say, oh wait a minute, I read that wrong. He's going to New Japan. Oh wait a minute, I read that wrong. He's going to ROH. Oh wait a minute, I read that wrong. His career's over.
Yes,
he's going to TNA.
and that's why I say he is exactly where he belongs, because he is a shit wrestler. Always was a shit wrestler. I would say he was in the ring a step above Batista, maybe, when it comes to his wrestling prowess. Batista to me always looked like a brick That guy at least had some form of flexibility.
I'm going to talk about Ryback real quickly and just move on. Ryback got screwed, but Ryback screwed Ryback.
Yes.
When Ryback went on a national radio show from satellite radio, when he was probably the biggest face and being pushed and the crowd was going crazy for him, and he talked about how he's better than John Cena, how John Cena's afraid of him, and all this stuff, and then now they took the shovel out right after he said that and started burying him.
Yeah, now he's going to go TNA.
And once they turned him heel, there was no turning back with how popular he was. And he did it to himself, because when you're in that situation, you have to keep your mouth shut, because you're not John Cena. So just keep your mouth shut. So we have
Jeff Jarrett.
So we have Enzo returning from.
Hold on, you said it once. That's one. That's one yellow card. One more. You're the fuck out. We do not talk about that guy.
I thought it was like Beetlejuice.
We got Enzo returning from his concussion, where WWE policy is they're out for 3 months when they have a concussion, and returning in 1 month, and he's actually wrestling and getting beat up. So that's strange.
So you're saying
It makes me think they might have hammed up that he had a concussion.
So you're saying it's a work?
Yeah.
Because to me, if it's a work, that was a really good work.
You don't come back and in WWE having a concussion.
I'm not arguing about that. I'm just arguing when I saw the injury, if it's really a work, it was a really good work, because it really looked like he was done.
It could have been a really nasty stinger, and they just hammed it up from there and are going with it now. It's very possible he went and got checked out, and he was okay.
Yeah, he could have got his bell rung, but the concussion worked.
I think
so. Then they
WWE
play it up
right now, though. If you're lights out, you're concussion. And
well,
he was lights out.
We think
that wasn't a work. No, he was stiff. He was lights out, dude. You got Big Cass crying. That man can't fucking act if his lights are.
Okay, if you have a concussion, you have a concussion. If you don't have a concussion, you don't have a concussion.
Right. No. Well, my point is I think they've got such a push coming for these two guys, and the crowd reaction they had during all this stuff that they had to bring Enzo back. Even Big Cass as a wrestler and on a mic is awful and should not talk and shouldn't be as
but if they just wanted to have Cass do something, they could have Enzo come out with a wrap around his head, do all the mic work, have Big Cass do some shit in the ring. They don't have to put Enzo back in the ring.
Well, my point though is that Big Cass got so much love while Enzo was gone, just because of how many people loved and wanted Enzo back, and that's why they brought him back. They can talk all the shit they want about that health policy. But if they see dollar signs, they're gonna go with the dollar signs, and they see dollar signs and Enzo and Cass.
If they saw dollar signs, they wouldn't have actually stopped the match, and they would have just kept it going.
He was unconscious. They had to stop the match.
But them saying it was a concussion was a work.
I disagree. I think he had a concussion, and they had to bring him back because they wanted the profit, and they wanted people to be fresh on him.
Listen, WWE doesn't have to bring anyone back because they have no competition at all.
True, but if these guys are selling the T-shirts and the tickets, they don't want to sit your ass down.
They're not selling the tickets. Not right now.
Tickets, merchandise. They're
and
selling
I'm sure they're still selling the same amount of merchandise. Makes no difference. And they don't even have a WWE shirt yet. They're still selling NXT shirts.
Oh no, that I did not know. They don't have soft WWE.
Nope, it's still NXT.
I think it is pretty clear though. They're getting pushed to the moon.
Yeah.
And they should. They're over as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Oh, dude, I pop when I hear that music now. Like, I pop like I used to see New Age Outlaws come out, honestly.
So, there was a post on the page earlier in the week talking about favorite tag teams. So, we're going to talk about our favorite tag teams real quick here, with the exception of Blake and Murphy, because, obviously...
Okay. Now, as favorite tag teams, you just mean who our favorite tag teams are, like who we like, or who do we think the best of all time is?
You
best of all time.
Lame, it's okay.
Best of all time.
You can mention someone old and lame. It's all right.
Okay.
Best of all time.
Best of all time is
LOD Grady, call it.
Oh, Dudley's 100%. I don't see the argument against it.
What makes them most memorable for you?
Oh, most memorable? Some of the greatest tag team matches that I've ever seen, and also they have held gold everywhere.
You know what makes them, well, not the most memorable, what I remember the most about them is the amount of time they pissed away in TNA.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
You know what, though? I will say I don't think that so much was a they as that much was Bubba Ray Because if Devon could have kept his ass in WWE with Bubba Ray as tag team, he would have. He didn't want to do that preacher bullshit gimmick that they gave. He
Coulda, woulda,
wanted
shoulda.
to run.
Okay.
The tag.
With that said, Playboy CVV.
Best tag team of all time in my books is the Dudley Boys also. And
Ooh, we got 2 for the Dudleys.
And mine is every place they've been, they've always been in the main event scene of tag teams. They've always held gold. But another thing too is not just doing statistics and everything like that. Is they've had, especially their old promos in ECW, where they had like Joel Gertner and everything, had some of the best promos ever. Just the most entertaining shit ever. They were such great heels. I mean, I think they're the best full time. But personally, I've always been a huge Freebirds fan. You know, I don't think they're the best tag teams of all time, but I've always liked the Freebirds. But best tag team of all time in my book, Dudley Boys.
You know,
CM Zach?
no, hold 1 second.
Okay.
You know, I love ECW. It's probably my favorite wrestling federation of all time. I love the Dudleys there. But outside of ECW, whatever they had, that magic they had in ECW, just never quite followed them anywhere else to me. They were great. No, they were great. They were still the Dudley Boys, but they weren't the Dudley Boys. It just wasn't the same.
Oh, the
Well,
best.
they could never have the same mouth. I mean, they were
Right.
able to get away with cursing.
Their
on the
character just
microphone
never worked for me as well outside of ECW.
I'll agree that they're.
I agree with CM Zach.
I'll agree with their best. You know, as a tag team, their best time was in ECW.
And ECW was garbage, so.
I
disagree.
loved ECW.
Well, we'll get into that conversation some other
ECW
time.
had great, solid wrestling.
So, CM Zach?
Had Shane
Best
Douglas.
tag team of all time to me would be the Outlaws. I don't think anyone was ever better than the New Age Outlaws.
Wow, you know what? It's hard for me to disagree. The New Age Outlaws, one of the greatest tag teams of all time in my book too.
Maybe being a kid in the Attitude Era, the New Age Outlaws were just the best.
Yeah,
Now,
they were
my,
pretty
my
awesome.
argument
back
that
then.
though is like, what matches, and I do say matches, put plural on, did the Outlaws just stick with you for forever?
And my argument with that is,
Okay,
Hey, that's not what they say.
all right.
yeah, see, everybody got shocked. We're like, how dare you?
But you know what? At the same point, I can do that with Enzo and Cass right now because they have that great entrance.
All right, sing their entrance right now. Go.
Oh, I'm not even.
Oh, okay.
But give me just more than 2 matches of theirs that you were like, that match I will fucking remember always.
When the second their music hit, I was on fire. That's it.
See, the Outlaws are a lot like Steve Austin, where they just oozed charisma. They really did. They oozed charisma. So, but I mean,
They wrestled everybody the Attitude Era.
if
I
you-
mean, they wrestled, I think, LOD a couple times, you know, when
Oh, yeah.
they were on their way out. They
Oh, great rivalry with LOD.
the Hardy Boys before they sucked. Who else? There's
But there's no.
Yeah,
match
Edge and
of
Christian
theirs-
were in there.
But, I mean, one big match of theirs that people will
The
always
APA.
remember was the trash can match, of course, with Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack. But other than that,
you don't have to
I
have
can't
a
think of
magical match to
well,
be
the-
the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time isn't I had this one good match this one night. It's every freaking time.
memorable
Every
match, though.
single
Don't you
time I
think
came
memorable
out,
match?
I
I was awesome.
I can use your argument against you.
Please.
Because when you say that, I just think of the Outlaws, and it's every time I see them, it's just amazing. And, okay, I don't remember all their matches because they were so good. They're so
I'll light up
they're,
every Christmas tree every time I hear
they're so good that sometimes they just eclipse the teams that they're wrestling. Now, you say the Dudleys. CM Zach, turn that. You say the Dudleys, okay? Well, the Dudleys were so good because they're getting carried by teams like Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. So they had those people to wrestle on top of them to make them look that much better when the Outlaws didn't have those people.
Oh, the Outlaws absolutely had those people because they were all in the same fed at the same exact time.
They
were in the
no,
same.
no,
they-
no, no,
the
no, no,
Outlaws-
no,
The
no,
Outlaws
no, no,
might
no.
have been on their tail end, but they were all in the same.
They
league
were
at the same
already
time.
done, already established by the time that whole TLC phase and all that stuff happened that made the Dudleys famous.
And it wasn't just that they were a good tag team. They were also a very important part of D-Generation X, which was a step
Absolutely.
above anything the Dudley Boys were ever a part of.
But for me though, I can at least mention more than 3 matches where I look at the Dudley Boys. I'm like, yeah, I could watch that tomorrow. I could watch that right now, and it doesn't have to just be Edge and Christian or Hardys. And I will also say, I don't think the Hardys carried the Dudleys. I think the Dudleys carried the Hardys.
I didn't say
Edge and
that.
Christian
I
had
just used that
great-
for your argument against you.
Edge and Christian had some of the best fucking charisma.
And I'll tell you this right now: there will be a ton of people who will say that the Hardys did carry the Dudleys.
Oh, and I get that, but you know what? Since we're talking about the Dudleys right now, can we, or the Hardys, can we discuss the god awful, atrocious nonsense that is going on in what should be a money making federation of TNA?
We absolutely cannot, so move on.
Hey, we have it on the FWL site. The promo of Brother
Well,
Nero.
that's because one of our admins is a
Well,
terrible human being.
let me ask you this question. When John Cena was out on Raw and he had his Ellen DeGeneres shorts for some reason, and AJ turned on Cena, who saw it coming? That's right, I just completely switched the topics from TNA because we're not talking about that.
Fucking A.
I didn't see that coming one bit.
Here do I. That's going to go down is when you have here a few years from now when WWE comes out with like their top 50 moments of Raw. That's definitely going to be on it. That was one of those moments where
I thought they were
I was
angling
glued.
to send the club over to Finn Balor, bring him up, fuck AJ Styles kind of thing.
You know what? I'll actually say that I completely disagree. I thought him turning right there was a piss poor decision, and the reason I say that is because the week before, just the 1 week, he looked at the club and said, "I don't need your help. I don't want your help." And then the very next week, you turn him back into the club. I think they missed a build-up that they could have worked on for at least a good couple months, so that could have been more memorable.
Yeah.
I don't think that was that memorable.
Yeah. His favorite tag team of all time was the Dudleys. So just think about that.
Yep.
What were you going to say?
You know what? I think it was a good move that they turned him heel. I really do. And I know it kind of doesn't make sense from what he said about Roman Reigns, but this is John Cena he attacked, not Roman Reigns. So this can be like a thing like I've been coming here. Like he can make this, I've been here, and I want to come here to WWE to confront this sham of a wrestler, John Cena, who's supposed to be the best in this whole
Yeah.
Now, I
world.
will say, if that's the gimmick,
You
that's
know.
a money gimmick.
I don't
But
see the
think
club
they're
as
going that
being
route.
traditional
I mean, they
heels
did it
at
with
all.
Daniel
The
Bryan.
beginning of the promo.
I don't think the club's going to be traditional heels. I mean, yeah, they'll come out and play the bad guy role, but half the damn people in the stadium every time are going to have club T-shirts on. Everyone's going to be throwing up their 2 sweets. They're going to be one of the most over things on the card.
Everybody in a WCW show was sitting there with NWO shirts.
Right, but the club could actually be a truly legitimate, worthwhile faction, which there really hasn't been one of in a very long time.
No, that I'll agree with. But I think the way, if they're going to make the club what they are right to a bigger faction later, I think the way they're doing it right now to start them up is really piss poor.
Nah, if you want to thrust someone into main event status, have them go beat John Cena.
And it was so over that it was making the newspaper in Japan.
Because the biggest star that used to be in Japan was AJ Styles.
I certainly
Actually, it was Nakamura, but
I think there's more connections
Was it
that are
Hideo
being made
Itami?
public
There's a lot of
between
No.
Japan and the WWE.
that's
right
not
now.
even an argument. Sorry to cut you off. That's not even an argument. Not even close.
I-
Hideo Itami wasn't even in New Japan Pro Wrestling, so don't even
Well,
talk
I would
about that if
argue
you don't know
Kenny
that.
Omega is actually the fucking top
Kenny
star.
Omega wasn't even close to Nakamura. Not even a little bit. Not even kind of. He's never even been the heavyweight champion, so you don't know. No, he hasn't. Nope. Mm-mm.
What title does he hold right now?
He has the junior heavyweight title right now.
All right.
Not even the Intercontinental Championship. So, no. It was Nakamura. He was a super duper star.
Was he? I'm just because I'm not going to get into a Japanese wrestling argument with you because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've always asked you guys about Japanese wrestling, but was he? Because the other person I saw in Japan that seemed to be really over like Nakamura was the Rainmaker. Was he? Was Okada? Was Nakamura even more? more popular than
Nakamura was
Okada?
more popular than Okada because Okada was a newer thing, where Nakamura had been established, been champion for a long time, longest reigning Intercontinental Champion.
He's a honky tonk man in
New
Japan.
But the Intercontinental Championship is different over there. They have a bunch of weird. They have 1 million titles, and it's weird over there. So
My day has been filled with way too many honky tonk
yeah, that's true. Since we got into the Nakamura topic, when do you think he's going to be brought up?
I would say at least 1.5 years, actually. I
Wow.
think he's going to be really well built up in NXT. I would love to see him in WWE right now, like in the main roster. I just don't think the main roster knows what the fuck to do with him.
And keep in mind that there's a brand split coming. So
But still.
Yeah, surprise.
I see
don't think
Nakamura
WWE
being the guy who champions NXT after the brand split, because I think Balor's going to be coming up. They might lose Joe up to the main roster. Nakamura is going to be the man in NXT for a while.
Nakamura doesn't speak really good English either, right?
And that works better in NXT, but also if
Exactly.
NXT is going to be more of its own, stand on its
Nakamura-
own 2 feet, doing invasions kind of things, they're going to need somebody like Nakamura.
well, hold on, let me just correct real fast, and you can talk. Nakamura speaks perfect English.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, that's why was one of the things about signing him. What were you
But
gonna
I
say?
know Hideo Itami does not.
Well, but
Right.
we're not talking about Hideo Itami.
All right, touche.
Yeah, I think Nakamura's going to pay a lot more than Hideo Itami.
Oh man, whew.
I don't, I don't know if it was Zach who said it or Grady here, but somebody said that 1.5 years or something like that. That's what I would think too, but he's been advertised. They've been bringing up advertisements for, he has a match in Hawaii against John Cena, and then he's being advertised a match against Bray Wyatt coming up soon, so
Now, is that a house show, though? Or
I don't know. But the one in Hawaii, they better have it on WWE Network, because I heard it was Cena and Nakamura, and I've always that'd be a great match to see, and also had Lesnar versus Kevin Owens.
The
on
one
there.
thing I have been seeing with the big house shows they're doing now is these crazy matches you'll never see on main TV. Like, what was it? Kevin Owens and Triple H versus Cesaro and Sami Zayn. Like, this is shit you're not going to see on TV. And these house shows
Right.
are really starting to realize, like, dude, the independent fans come to see us. And they put on these independent shows.
I think
almost
it's-
like an NXT show, but for the main roster.
I think a lot of that is testing how much that NXT stuff they can get away with in front of a main roster crowd.
When that brand split happens, within a month you're gonna see Nakamura on that main roster.
Oh, I absolutely
I think he's going to be a surprise.
So, you'll see.
He could be.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about one more thing real fast because we're a little over time here. Who is going to win Money in the Bank?
Well, we're still missing one guy, aren't we? There's
No, they're
one
going to do
guy.
6. I was reading.
Who's in it right now?
Well, there's still one vacant space left.
Yeah, but who's
And
in it right now?
I've been hearing Bray Wyatt.
Owens, Zayn, Cesaro,
Jericho.
Jericho. Oh, help me out here. Oh, Del Rio,
Del Rio.
and one more person who is it's not Ryder, is it?
No.
Well, he wouldn't be winning anyhow.
Someone else I can't remember. But you're going to ask me straight up.
Cesaro.
Oh, and Ambrose. No,
Oh,
Ambrose.
But there's
Ambrose.
still the empty
There's
space.
there's
though.
still one more person.
Okay. Well, regardless who that is, I think Kevin Owens is winning it.
I would love to see, and as we were talking about earlier with a main event at like WrestleMania of Seth Rollins and AJ, if you gave me that main event and then Kevin Owens comes out at WrestleMania to steal the fucking title with the Money in the Bank, I think that'd be one of the best WrestleMania endings ever. So I would like to see Kevin Owens win. I don't think that's going to be the end game.
I think we can safely say it's not going to be Jericho.
I was gonna say I think it's gonna be Jericho.
You know, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't
I'm
care.
not going to count out Jericho at all.
I wouldn't care if
Chance.
anybody wins this except for Del Rio. That's the only one.
So who,
Oh, that's
who,
gonna
Is
be
he
fun.
on your team?
who do you think's gonna win?
No, but
If
I
I had
just
to
think it'd be
throw
the
out a
worst one
pick,
to have it right now,
I
these
think
guys.
I would go with Cesaro. I obviously don't know who the last pick's going to be, if it's a Seth Rollins, someone like that, but
Jericho's on the end of his run pretty much, and he's not gonna be around for that much longer. So they're gonna have to throw him one more bone.
He'd be entertaining. If he won it, he'd be pretty goddamn
It doesn't.
entertaining.
It doesn't mean he has. Yeah, he would be entertaining. Doesn't mean he has to hold on to that Money in the Bank. he can lose that briefcase. But they got to give him something.
I think with the landscape right now, though, of a lot of heels holding titles, except for the tag team, of course, I think Sami Zayn's going to end up being the winner. Just to give the over face.
That's what my dad thinks is going to happen. My dad thinks Sami Zayn's winning this.
Now,
I just don't want Del Rio to win.
That's it.
yeah.
I got, like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with Cesaro, Owens, Zayn, Ambrose, or Jericho winning the Money in the Bank. If Del Rio wins, I'll just I don't know. Del Rio's in that Dolph Ziggler category to me now too. He's just boring.
Now,
Well, I think it looks like, anyway, AJ and Cena are headed into their feud, so those guys are probably out, but there's the high danger of Seth Rollins ending up in Money in the Bank.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, the rest of the Money in the Bank card next time, but what were you going to say?
well, I want to know there is a big topic from this
in the Money in the Bank?
past podcast that we have missed, and that is the Cody Rhodes.
Mm.
Cody Rhodes asking for his release. What's the feeling on that?
I don't
Who
care.
cares?
Yeah, I feel
Really?
the same way.
I think Cody Rhodes made the best decision for himself,
Maybe.
and is going to go to independent wrestling where people are suddenly wanting to see him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the independent wrestling crowd is suddenly like wanting him in independent shows, and he's going to build himself up and come back to WWE within 5 years and kick ass.
Yeah, that could be possible.
That could be, but I really...
I would like to see
If
that.
it happens,
That's
cool,
fine.
but
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't...
But Cody Rhodes to me again was in that category that I was talking about again with Del Rio and Ziggler and Rusev. Where I just didn't care about him.
There's no not being Stardust.
It's just,
You know what? I actually love Stardust, and that's why I
it's
started getting into
just...
fucker.
He could go and do anything he wants anywhere else he wants, but if he comes back, he's still Stardust.
I thought his best gimmick, and they gave up on it real quick, is when he came out to that almost that 80s music where he was looking at himself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Dashing Cody Rhodes.
I'll sum it up. I'll sum it up right now.
No, that was when he was with.
I'll sum it up right now. They're not going to cancel WrestleMania because Cody Rhodes is gone.
But they will because Alex Riley's gone.
Yeah, they will because Alex Riley gone. Okay, we're way over on time, so as usual, let's all call Joe a jobber and sign off.
Joe's a jobber.
Jobber.
PCW Joe is a jobber.
Jobber.